6 things that a buyer's agent can do to destroy, absolutely destroy, an escrow. You're listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
Great sound effects, Todd. I'm going to bring you back for the next episode for the sound effects.
And then afterwards, it's just...
Oh, okay, I can sound effect here maybe. Oh, I don't know. It won't play on.
Yeah, if you press that button, there's no telling what sound effects going to play.
No telling what's going to happen. So we want to make sure we're safe.
Junior high sounds.
We don't want more of those. All right. Hey, we've got an interesting show today. So welcome back. Welcome back to the Home Sellers Advantage. We want to give you, as a home seller, we want to give you information so you can make intelligent and informed decisions about the home selling process.
Yep.
And as primarily listing agents, Todd and I have the privilege and the joy of working with sellers. Mm-hmm. And that's really the easy part.
Yeah.
We get to know our clients. We get to know the properties. We pick a price. We start the marketing process. Mm-hmm. And we put the home on the market. And then we get to open escrow.
Yep.
And that opening escrow process is exciting. Mm-hmm. Like we get into escrow. But here's the thing. We work with another agent 90+% of the time. And over the years, Todd and I have come up with the phrase that we hate it when a great transaction is destroyed by a bad agent.
That's right.
And it doesn't mean that they're immoral.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about that. But we are talking about things that buyer's agents do or don't do that make it really tough.
And hey, we are not here to trash on buyer's agents. There's plenty of great buyer's agents, and there's plenty of lousing listing agents.
That's true. That's true.
We're just talking about how sometimes the wrong person for the job can get in the way of the transaction. And the reality is, when you're looking at offers on your home, there's what's written on paper, known as the contract. There's everything that we evaluate that's on paper, but then there's other things that we have to evaluate that aren't so easy to put on the purchase agreement, on the contract.
Right.
And these are some of the things that we want to discuss.
So there's the paper and there's the person. So today we're talking, and the procedures.
And when you match the paper with the person, you get a paper cut.
Thank you. That is a different episode. Oh, by the way, if you saw in our previous episodes that Todd had injured himself.
Yeah.
And then I injured myself.
Yeah.
And so I cut through my finger.
His injury was much worse than mine. Mine was a little
wimpy
little
compared to
baby
mine.
flesh wound. And then
I drove myself to the urgent care and got 5 stitches.
Now, in reality, though, it would have been much more dramatic if you'd been in a knife fight. But no, you got in a knife fight with yourself. You stabbed yourself.
I named my knife Pitbull. So I can say that I got in a fight with a pit bull.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
That's what I told the high school boys that I that I lead at church. And they're like, "No way, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, but my knife's name is Pitbull." They're like, "Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Z."
Name it Corn Pop.
And you're really corny. All right. Hey, sorry for how we digress.
All right, here we go.
But we're going to talk about some things here today. And it's really 6 things that we've kind of boiled down to that can really make a transaction difficult for home sellers.
Yep.
And number one. Is there a bad offer?
Just a bad offer. And this is where it is written on paper. But what is a bad offer? Oftentimes it's one that's not complete, leaves a lot of things is there a home warranty? They say yes. Well, who's paying for it? I mean, oftentimes you can have an offer that's written that is just unclear.
Yeah.
And so then we have to go back and re-clarify things. We got to fix it in a counteroffer or addendums and that sort of thing. Yeah.
And an agent that is professional is going to seek out the listing agent. Is going to ask questions before they submit an offer. Things like, what's the seller looking for? How many days for escrow? Who are your services? And they're going to do that kind of conversation before an offer is written.
The diligence ahead of time.
So that they write a good offer.
And you know what that communicates to us? Is this is an agent that's professional. This is an agent that knows how the transaction works. And this is an agent that wants this transaction to work out. So he or she is going to write a good offer.
That's number one.
Number 2.
Bad communication.
It all comes down to communication.
And this is both on a little too much and a little too little.
Yes.
So it's kind of, Goldilocks agent, right in the middle, not too much, not too little.
Just right.
Just right, okay? Because if we don't hear from a buyer's agent and we're in the middle of a transaction, the worst possible thing happens in our minds. Why aren't we hearing from them?
Yeah.
Something's
Silence.
wrong. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And the sellers, why haven't you heard from the agent? Why haven't you heard? What's going on? And so silence in a transaction is cause for concern, fear, and exaggeration. And we do it. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from them. They said they would call me in 10 minutes. It's been half an hour.
Yeah.
It's been 2 hours. What's going on? Something's wrong. And we always assume the worst.
Yeah, and there's also something known as silence in the transaction where things are supposed to happen and they don't happen and we get nothing. And we have learned from experience that silence oftentimes means there might be a cancellation coming or there's an issue. But then on the other side, you have an agent that over-communicates every tiny little thing. And what that also expresses is there's problems brewing. And when there really might not be problems, but for us, we're thinking, okay, this might be a problem.
Yeah. Well, and this can be part of the transaction. I'll give you an example. An over-communicating agent might give up some information.
That's right.
That kind of deleverages their buyer's ability. Perhaps they say something, they really love this home. They've already scheduled the movers.
Yeah.
Oh, really? But we haven't responded to the request for repairs.
Yeah.
And you just asked for $15,000. And what if we offer you $2,000? Well, if we already know movers are scheduled, we know, and that's just an agent that's not, doesn't have the experience of know when and what to communicate.
Yeah.
So they over communicate.
Or let's say that we haven't decided on a buyer yet. There's multiple buyers, and an agent tells us, okay, well, yeah, we're going to write a higher offer, but I don't think it's going to appraise. We're worried it's not going to appraise.
Yeah.
You're probably telling us a little bit too much because if we know that you're coming in with fear and trepidation, that's going to translate into the transaction.
Here's also a new scenario. They're at the front door. They walk out after seeing the home. The Ring doorbell is capturing everything. And we know sellers watch those things. And you know what?
Yeah.
They look at the body language of the agent and they hear the agent say to the buyers, well, this house really needs a lot of work. But then you get an offer from that agent and he says, my clients love the house. It's going to be the perfect home for them. That's bad. That's not good.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
If your agent is communicating in that way in front of cameras, security cameras, which are everywhere nowadays, you could blow the deal.
This isn't necessarily related to number 2, but it is related to something you just said with the cameras. I don't know if you remember this. Several years ago, we had a seller was incensed and said that buyer's agent came back and they went into the refrigerator and grabbed a drink out of the refrigerator.
I don't remember that.
I remember that.
Wow.
I remember that one very well.
Well,
and so the seller didn't want to work with that buyer or that buyer's agent because of the lack of professionalism by the agent.
Yeah, right. And so watch your agent when you're previewing homes. Make sure they're not raiding the refrigerator, okay? That's not a good look. And okay, go beyond that. Sometimes we see people use the restrooms when they're in the home. And, homeowners know. And they get upset.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, bad communication, over communication, not enough communication. We could go on. The next reason that an agent can cause a transaction to go bad is that they don't give good advice when it comes to picking a lender.
Yeah.
An agent that works with buyers should know that listing agents are very aware of what lenders are good lenders and what lenders are bad lenders. And if you're working with a lender and your buyer's agent knows that that lender's not very reputable or causing problems elsewhere, they should have the professionalism to say to you, buyer, you need to reconsider. And here's why. Your lender has a reputation for fill in the blank.
Delays or
low appraisals,
unnecessary conditions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's an issue that a good buyer's agent will be able to head off at the pass early if they get you to work with the right lender.
Yep.
Number four. Ridiculous.
Yeah, not being able to properly manage the request for repairs. And we throw this in because Aaron and I have dealt with this a number of times. One of the things can be that oftentimes a buyer might request such a ridiculous request for repairs that leaves little to no room for negotiation. I mean, it's so far apart. We had a situation on a previous listing where the sellers didn't even negotiate. They said, no, I'm not agreeing to any of it because it's so far apart.
Yeah, they asked for such a big credit. It was offensive. And an agent should know that. And if they call the listing agent and say, hey, we're running this, we're thinking about this, and that listing agent says, I think you're kind of off, you might want to reconsider. You should reconsider.
Yeah.
Because you might be blowing the deal.
Yeah.
I had one time, and this was years ago, where the home inspection had a suggested repairs list in the home inspection report, and it had 87 items, which is pretty significant. That's a lot of things, and a lot of them were small, like missing cover plates and stuff like that, which I understand. Like, you want a nice home, but you're buying a used property. It's not a punch list for a new build. They submitted that 87 list as the request for repairs. We want all of these done.
Yeah, I remember that. They just sent the entire list.
And you know what the seller said?
And that's lazy.
Cancel.
Yeah.
Cancel.
And that's
There's
just
no way.
lazy.
Yeah,
it's
no way.
absolutely lazy. You got to go, if you've got to go through and see what's important to your client, and then write it in such a way that we can work with it.
Right. And here's one thing we need to note. For California, if you're buying in California, you need to know that a seller's response to the request for repair is not required.
That's right.
Most buyer's agents don't know that. And so there's contingencies for inspections and things like that. And they think, we can't remove a contingency because the seller has not replied to our request for repairs.
Yeah.
Read the fine print.
Yeah, it makes no difference.
Says the seller is not obligated to respond to this. It is not the investigation time period is not conditioned upon a seller's response.
Yeah. The seller is not obligated to negotiate after a purchase agreement has already been made.
That's right.
So any request for repairs is a further negotiation after the fact. And then you have, basically, it's an addendum. But the request for repairs that you agree to is an addendum. It's amending the original contract.
Right.
So,
and it can be just a train wreck. And so many deals blow up on the inspection and the request for repairs.
Yeah.
Because agents don't know how to properly navigate it.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, there are some listing agents who blow the deal at that point too. Where they buy into the offense.
On both sides.
The seller's offended. No, I'm offended. So I'm going to say no way. Right. So that's in fact one of the things we're going to talk about. But it goes both sides, especially the request for repairs.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Not coordinating with vendors.
Oh, so important. So the picture that goes through my mind is the wagon wheel, and the agent is the center hub. And then you have all these spokes that have different vendors involved, from the lender, the appraiser, the
holding
home
on to
inspector.
all the spokes.
Right. And you're holding it together. You're pulling them to the center. And the buyers and the sellers are on the outside of the wagon wheel, holding on for dear life. And every time that wheel rotates, they get dragged through the mud. And it's an emotional high and it's emotional low. It's just terrible. Like that's what the emotions of a transaction sometimes feel like. So a good buyer's agent and seller's agent, but in this case, we're talking about buyer's agents, they need to be able to handle the vendors, work with them, and then work their magic and bring the buyers from the outside of the wheel to the inside.
That's right.
Slow it down and say, hey, here's what's next. Here's what needs to happen. Key ones involved here, making sure that the appraisal happens on time. That is a buyer's responsibility.
Yeah.
Buyer's agent's responsibility to coordinate with the lender to make sure that the buyer's appraisal is ordered, then to coordinate with escrow, making sure that, the good faith deposit is in, making sure that the buyer's package is signed, making sure that, they get their things notarized and things turned in. Then, then they coordinate with the listing agents.
Yeah.
Hey, let's check on the request for repairs. Let's check on termite, make sure termite's moving along. And so there's a lot of things that buyer's agent needs to do.
Home warranty is ordered. Yeah.
And insurance.
Insurance, yeah.
That's a big deal in California.
Especially in California. Insurance, finding an insurer that will insure the property. If there's roof issues, that can be an issue for an insurance company.
Yeah.
So all of those things have to be properly managed. And think of that wagon wheel falling apart. It upsets the wagon, and Billy Bob and Betsy Sue are in the mud as the wagon flipped over, and all of their supplies from town are all over the dusty road.
The muddy, dusty road. We don't want that to happen, all right? And a good buyer's agent is going to coordinate with those vendors.
Tumbleweeds blowing in the background, which describes what just happened to your entire transaction.
Oh, man. Yes. Yes, it can be dangerous.
All right. We're got to move it along here.
We're moving on to number 6. And in here, I couldn't say every agent, maybe every agent has this imaginary persona that they are Superman or Superwoman.
Yeah.
And underneath their clothes, they're wearing leotards with the Superman emblem or the Superwoman emblem. And they're wearing a cape, but nobody can see it.
Yeah.
And they feel like that sometimes they have to be the hero of the story.
Yeah.
And they have to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes that means that they bring their emotion into the transaction.
Yeah.
And completely sidetrack and derail an escrow.
Create problems where there perhaps weren't problems, so that you can then be the hero.
Right.
And we've seen that happen many times.
Too many times.
And if your client, if this is not an important issue to your client, then don't make it an important issue. But we've seen many times where an agent has created an issue where it really wasn't an issue to the client. And we know that because we've had cases where our sellers have spoken with the buyers. Normally it's the agents talking to the agents.
Right.
The actual principals, the sellers and the buyers have talked, and the buyer's perfectly fine with it. And we find out that the agent has been creating all of the drama.
Right. And you don't want an agent that's going to create unnecessary dust.
Yeah.
You just want an agent that's going to help you determine what's important, what's not important, but not go above and beyond in terms of creating issues.
Yeah.
If you don't think that something's a problem, don't let your agent create a problem in that area.
And listen, you as the client might be looking to your agent. You might not know what to look for, and you say, hey, do you see any issues? Well, of course, the agent should be bringing up potential issues. We're not saying that should be the case. But there are sometimes a case where it's not a big deal to the client. They just want to move forward.
Right.
And so that is our number 6.
And there are other things out there, but these are the 6 items that we see repeatedly coming up. And if you had to pick a pet peeve, Todd, of these 6, which would be the worst for you?
I think number 6 is the worst for me. The one where the agent oftentimes gets in the way with trying to create problems where unnecessary problems. That's one of the biggest ones for me.
For me personally, it's number 2.
Number 2.
Bad communication.
Oh, yeah. That goes along with it. That's true.
That can sometimes create those problems,
Yeah.
But no, you picked a great one. 6 is great for you, Todd. 2 is great for me.
Never mind. My answer's 2. Well, hey, listen, there might be one that is not on our list that you have experienced.
Please,
and if you
tell us.
have, write it in the comments section. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment, or any of the other platforms that we're on, leave us a comment. We'd love to know your thoughts or personal experiences as well.
Yeah, tell us what your buyer's agent did to blow your deal. That would be interesting for us to hear. Because there's more, we've had hundreds of transactions and we keep most of them together, but
that's right.
It'd be interesting to hear the other side.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Home Seller's Advantage. I am Aaron.
And I'm Todd.
And we appreciate you listening in today. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Crosswalk Mortgage and Beacon Escrow. We couldn't do this without you. And to our clients who trust us every day, day in and day out. We appreciate you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you if you are thinking about buying or selling a home. You're going to get our 800 number again, but let's just give it to you right now. It's 833-305-BULB. 833-305-2253.
That's it.
God bless you. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to the Home Seller's Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.